welcome everybody to this annual general meeting of the Westgate North Sea Town Council. It's been a lovely day today outside, and what could be a better way to round the day off than a nice meeting. I simply need to indicate that if there is a fire or another emergency, the exit doors are right there where you came in. I'm pleased to see we have Councillor Bambridge in attendance and the TCSO. So a few more words about TBC elections maybe at some point. But we should move to agenda item 1, which is to elect a chairperson. Are there any nominations for the chairperson? Councillor Nicholas.
Based on the belief that I feel that we need some consistency from last council to this council, I would like to nominate yourself to stay on the chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Are there any other nominations? I see none, so all those in favour of...
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful. I know there is a strong feeling that the council has a good basis, and we need to press on and meet the wishes of the residents. So I have to sign. So we come to item 2, which is to appoint a vice chairperson. Councillor Scott.
I would like to nominate Councillor Michaud, basically grounds that I feel that with the strength communications, PR connections, I feel we can push the council into a progressive forward direction, and obviously with you alongside, I think it would be a good push and pull mechanic, so I'd like to make that clear.
I'd like to second that.
Any other nominations? I see none, so can we vote on the proposal that Councillor Nick Allen should be vice chair?
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I'm myself, sorry.
Any against? Thank you very much. Well, congratulations, Councillor Nicholas. I would certainly like to thank Councillor Page for all that she's done in the last year as Vice Chair. It's been a pleasure to work with her, and I think she still has an awful lot to contribute, not least with Westgate Day, which is arguably the most important job in the council, but there's still plenty to do. Thank you very much. Do we have apologies for absence?
No apologies.
I have an apology, Chair. An apology from Councillor Bertie Braidwood. He did have every intention of coming in today, but due to some of the circumstances that some people may be aware with, but I won't share on his behalf, he's unable to come today, but he does have every intention to come to full council meetings in the future.
So, Councillor Connors?
Not to apologise, but just to let you know that unfortunately I have got guests and I will have to at 9:15 tonight. I do apologise for it, shouldn't I?
Yes. I'm aware of that at least 2 councillors have been constrained, so we will try and get through the business by 8:45 at the latest. So, item 4, to receive declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interest. Councillor Scott.
So I believe I may have interest on the addendum item 21. So basically I'm putting it out to all members who wish for me to sit on that particular part of the meeting. But due to my past involvement with one of the organisations that will be discussed and involved with item 21, I feel I may have some biased options or opinions of my own that could put something towards the vote. So I'm happy to put my thoughts forwards. I appreciate if people do not wish for me to make a vote on that. To leave it up to the members to decide.
Just a question about with that kind of interest, it's usually a monetary interest, as if you were going to gain something. And I don't think that Councillor Scott would gain any money from his decision. So I was wondering how that's supposed to.
Yeah, I've actually spoken to Councillor Matthew Scott today. There isn't actually a proper declaration, but I did say if he wanted to actually make that known to members, but there's no reason why I shouldn't actually partake in the debate at all.
Yes, I think there are clear guidance notes available on what constitutes a conflict. Well, there are guidance notes available, whether they're clear is open to discussion perhaps, but it is for each councillor to decide whether they're in a situation conflict of interest. But I do think it's important that we let the other councillors know if there is anything in our background which might colour our views. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Item 5, minutes of the last meeting held on the 2nd of April. I know that most of those who were present have had the chance to see this. I hope the new councillors have had a chance to look through. If there are no questions or objections, can someone propose that we accept them? Councillor Nicholas, Councillor Page. All those in favour? Thank you.
Thank you.
Against?
Sorry.
Well, I can't think of any announcements that I need to make that have arisen in the last 5 minutes or so. I would perhaps just, for the record, mention the elections to Thanet District Council. We're happy to see that Councillor Bambridge and Councillor
Scott.
Braidwood are back again, and congratulate our very own Matthew Scott on his becoming a Thanet District Councillor. We look forward to that link as a way of maintaining good communication with TDC. I'd also like just to say from a personal point of view that Carol Messenger, I think, did a good job as District Councillor. I always found her very open, very attentive to our concerns. And so I personally feel that we owe her thanks for her time with us as a District Councillor. Thank you. Now we have three lots of committee minutes to receive and approve. The Events and Tourism Committee going back to the 26th of March. Are there any that would perhaps vote on these on block? Because again, I think those people who are present at the meeting have had a chance to see the minutes. So there's the event.
If I'd like to explain to everybody, and obviously members of the public, these minutes were shared with the chairs of the particular committees and with all members on each committee before the election. So they have been seen by everybody on those committees and they were received. So this is the formality of signing and receiving. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor O'Connor. Because it's a cornfield.
Yeah, I propose that we accept them.
Thank you. Well, Councillor O'Connor.
I'll get one name.
All those in favour? Thank you. Councillor Robinson. So we come to item 8, which is a look at the committee terms of reference and scheme of delegations. I think from the experience of the last 4 years, I think there are some areas where we feel the focus should be rather different. Now is really a good time to look at the way the different committees function, to see what their priorities are, and to see how we can best organise our work. I think it's important to stress that we have just 10 councillors, and to move things forward it's important that we all play our part in the most constructive, most effective way, and that we use the resources that we have most effectively. You'll have seen that various amendments are made. We should perhaps go through them one by one, and maybe I'd like to just outline the main changes first.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so with the Finance and General Purposes Committee, I know that historically there have been quite a few members that wanted to actually be on that committee, so I've actually amended this to up to 8 town councillors if required, and then removed the sentence where the chair and vice chair of the council will be ex officio members unless they are committee members. And I propose on this that we actually meet quarterly rather than bi-monthly. I think that would be a better use of the time for that committee. And then it is down where it comes to voting, again the ex officio members may not vote on resolutions unless they are committee members. And where it says consider the financial estimates of the council and recommend a precept to be levied to the full council for debate and resolution, just added that in the sentence. And then further down the page, to authorise members' attendance at conferences, courses and meetings. I feel that this should be something that should be the Human Resources Committee actual responsibility. To enter the interlegal proceedings on the council's behalf, and I put there within the committee's delegated limit of financial expenditure. I think that's a key thing to think about. Again, where it says manage health and safety policy and issues, I think this should be under the Human Resources Committee. To determine pay and contractual conditions of employment, review, update these as necessary to comply with UK employment law, as well as good practice, taking into consideration any recommendations from the Human Resources Committee. I actually feel that this should be under the Human Resources Committee delegated responsibility. To oversee the council's pension policy and the criteria required for the eligibility. Again, this should be, I believe, under the Human Resources Committee. Oversee the grievance, misconduct and dismissal procedures and nominate hearing panels to determine decisions as and when required. Again, this is something I think should be under the Human Resources Committee. To appoint members to the Appeals Committee as and when required. Because the actual delegated was already to the Human Resources Committee to actually make up the members of the panel, it just seems strange that that's under the Finance and General Purposes Committee rights, so I thought that should be moved as well. And to oversee and agree the annual appraisal of the town clerk through the chairman of the council, who will conduct regular reviews on the annual appraisal. Again, this is carried out with the chair, the vice chair and some of the Human Resources Committee, so I think that should be under there. To determine the training and qualification policy of the council. Again, I see that as the Human Resources Committee power. To deal with highways and environmental issues affecting Westgate-on-Sea. Obviously, there's a proposal for a planning committee, and that would make perfect sense for that to go to the planning committee. So that's the changes that I'll propose for the Finance and General Purposes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Well, let's look at each committee in turn maybe and then see if there are general issues we want to look at. So I've got one comment, but I'll go to the floor first. Councillor Scott.
Just one, on the rights and powers, the third point down, it says to be responsible for overseeing, allocating and controlling the financial resources of the council. The word allocating was confusing to me. So to be responsible for overseeing and controlling the financial resources, I understand, but then allocating them, what does that allocation mean with regards to the Finance and General Purposes Committee?
Yeah, basically what it's referring to is actually the financial resources are being allocated to other committees. That's my understanding. But again, if people feel more comfortable if that goes to council, then that's something we can review.
I think what's happened in the past is that the committees have asked for put together their budget and suggested how much they needed, and then it's gone to full council or financial, whatever, usually I think full council. So I was just questioning that word allocated, and I would suggest that it could be taken out if that's agreeable with other people. But it needs to have agreement with others.
I just want to, I agree, I think allocating is the wrong word. I think that we already agreed at full council what these budgets are, so I think allocating might need to be another word, or just a word that's removed completely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that the Finance and General Purpose Committee is central to the operation of the council. Even though I'm the new board, I think for good governance and good management of the council's operation, that the committee should meet more frequently than once a quarter. Certainly what I suggested was, in fact, monthly. Because it is, it obviously has a central role in the operation of the council and its various projects.
The way that the budgets were set up this year, they were put into, if you like, departments stroke committees, therefore making sure that each of the departments or committees had an allocation to that thing for them to look at and make sure they keep within their budgets and report on that on their committee meetings and to full council over it. So that's the reason why I don't think it's probably necessary to meet for that period of time.
Yes.
Thank you. On the subject of the Finance and General Purpose Committee, in the last quarter, the total amount of meeting time was 1 hour. So I don't think we can actually, justify everybody coming together once a month if we're only going to spend, 30, 20 minutes each meeting. It's far better, I think, for the actual budget versus expenditure review to take place every quarter with the Finance and General Purposes Committee having that role. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I noticed that we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Eighth of the rights and powers to be responsible for the council's revenue and capital budgets and the works scheduled therein. Again, to be responsible for the budget, it prepares a draft budget which it submits to the council. And after that, I suppose it's responsible generally in terms of good financial management. But it doesn't refer specifically to preparing draft budget. I don't know if that meets Councillor Scott's point. Yes, Councillor O'Connor.
Well, we were just saying that the word overseeing perhaps needs to go in there.
Responsible for overseeing.
Yes.
Okay.
So can I just clarify, that's on that point then with the council's revenue and capital budgets and the work scheduled therein, overseeing, yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Anything else? I did raise the issue of number 4, which is to advise the council on the distribution of functions between the committees and subcommittees. I'm not quite sure that that's open to your views. Okay, everyone's happy with that? Yes. Okay.
I was going to say, if Councillor Pennington, your suggestion, if members agree, we could simply remove that, item from the rights and powers problem.
Well, councillors agree.
Yes, yes, of course, but I mean, if that's what the general consensus is and the vote goes that way, that's what we're going to do.
So I see some faces look puzzled, some looking disinterested. Should we delete that sub-clause, whatever it is, about the structure of committees?
Can you just
Goes to finance and general purposes.
Can you just say what the implications of that would be, please?
Well, the Finance and General Purposes Committee would decide on the structure of the committees and subcommittees and so it would be for full council in the case of committees and maybe the committee itself in relation to subcommittees. Which is, I think, how we tended to do things anyway.
No, that's what I'm saying. What's the implication there? I can't see what the difference would be. Actually.
Well, the difference would be that it would be each particular committee or council that decide on the committees, subcommittees, not the Finance and General Purposes Committee.
Oh, okay. Right. I thought if it's only limited to the Finance and General Purpose Committee, I thought how broad it would be.
Councillor O'Connor?
You could, if you wanted something there, you could say it's to advise the council on the subcommittee on their finance issues, or something like that, because obviously that's what it's, subcommittees will be devolved a certain amount of money and maybe they wish to take advice and things like that, so I would say to advise.
And advisory role, yeah.
But not distribution of functions.
Yeah, I take Councillor O'Connor's recommendation personally. I don't know other people feel. That makes sense.
So, sorry, is that a clear proposal or were you just underlining?
Well, it was a proposal that we change it to, that we have advice on the financial side of the subcommittee.
Okay,
And I'll second that.
thank you. Okay, let's vote one by one. Is that agreed? That's all proposed seconded. Is there everyone in favour?
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. For overseeing, we didn't have a vote on. To be responsible for overseeing the council's revenue and capital budget. That was proposed and seconded, I think. Is that agreed? Yes.
Thank you.
And can we take the other suggested changes en bloc?
Proposed.
Yes. Seconded by
Seconded.
Councillor
Thank you. Yeah.
All those in favour? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Nightingale also.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so human resources.
Thank you.
Want to
Yes.
speak to that?
So, bearing in mind the the rights and powers that I suggested go to the human resources powers instead of finance and general purposes, that would be the case with the human resources. In addition, to manage the human resources budget, which includes training for members and staff. And then I had membership up to 6 councillors, because previously it's only been 4, and I felt that if there were additional people that want to be, that could be up to 6. And then, where it had rights and powers to prepare and submit budget proposals in respect of training for all staff to the Finance and General Purposes Committee, remove that. And then, further down where it's got establish and review performance management, I've just changed it from chairman to chairperson, vice chairperson, and over the page, because there seems to be confusion in here. It seems to be talking about the complaints committee and the appeals committee. Now, the appeals committee is the only one that I felt that we had on this terms of reference, so I've actually changed that word from complaints to appeals. And to manage the human resources budget, including the training budget again, so that's all as I had previously. So that's all for the human resources proposed.
Councillor Crawford.
where it says to establish and review the performance management, or after that, the top of the page, to establish the health, safety and welfare policies of the council and oversee implementation and compliance and amendments. And could we have amendments as well?
Okay. Anything else?
On the appeals committee, I was wondering if maybe it should be chosen by, if it's an appeals, because it's quite an onerous task appealing, whether it should, committee members should be chosen by the full council, and maybe just include one HR member, because it's debatable whether they would have a biased view having been involved previously.
I agree.
Okay.
So what would the amendment be? Would be,
I would.
well, we say members of the
Members of the
committee
committee.
may be invited to sit on the appeals committee.
Sorry, what did you say?
What's the specific amendment?
That
One member be
Yes.
invited to sit on the appeals
one
committee.
member,
One member.
of the HR, and the committee is decided by the full council.
Yeah.
The committee should consist of 3 councillors appointed from and by the full council,
Yeah.
and to include one HR member.
Sorry, adjustment. Do we need to cover things that might happen in an emergency situation if we're going to, prior to, say, the next full council meeting? If we're going to appoint them at a full council meeting, might we need to have done that in some situations prior to the next emergency meeting, next full council meeting?
So there is something in the delegated powers where the chair and the town clerk can actually take any emergency action as necessary to protect town council. Yeah, in those circumstances.
Yeah, okay.
Any other points? Can we vote on those 2 amendments?
Proposed.
One was to add amendment to establish the health, safety and welfare policies of the council and oversee, is it amendment, implementation? Where's the amendment?
I've just asked if we could add amendments on the end, that we could amend. Should it be necessary to amend health, safety and welfare policies, then the HR are already, the terms of reference allow them to do that. Because
Okay.
the policies are ever changing.
Yeah.
So it would be to establish and amend as necessary?
No, just an amendment.
Just to clarify the fact that we can amend them without,
Okay.
we have the authority
Yeah.
to amend, or the committee has the authority to amend.
So we just tell them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry?
Councillor Wilson.
Councillor Con. In favour? Good, thank you. And the second was one member of the committee may be invited. Is that what was
Because I think
proposed?
there may be a situation there, because obviously if there's 6 sitting on the HR committee and only one's allowed, then we could have a situation. So we've got to be careful of the wording of this.
I would suggest it be the chair of the Human Resources Committee. That's what
But then there's only 4 councillors left, so...
Yeah, so 5. Oh, I see what you mean.
I mean, currently at the moment there's only 4 proposed, but if that extended to 6, it only leaves a pool of 4 people to go from to be those 2 other councillors to sit onto that appeal process. So Hannah has about point.
So just be careful of the wording of it, that it applies, it's advisable to call on just the chair. Or just
Yes.
one.
Councillor Con.
Yes, I think the fact that the full council is making the decision of which councillors go on there, they put their reasons for or against, and the council would vote on each individual person, whether they sat on that committee or not.
Yes, that would be better.
Because that's,
Yes.
because that's, but the one person that must stand on there is a representative from the human resources, which is.
Yes, just keep it simple, but it's the full council that
Make the other decisions.
choose the committee.
So do we need a sentence in the terms of reference about that?
I personally think that we
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
because I think that the council changes over periods of time, and if we lose council members and new members come on board, we have to have a consistency over the 4 years, and if it's not in black and white, then it's open to misinterpretation. So I do think we need a clarification statement in there.
Okay.
So would you propose wording?
I go that far.
So he would be very desperate.
I should have said nothing. Maybe there's something that Joanna should propose, because obviously this, or Helen, because this is your areas of expertise.
Thank you. This comes under the appeals committee. Therefore, I think it's just very simple. The committee should consist of 3 councillors appointed from and by the full council, full stop.
So we delete one out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Is that acceptable to everybody?
Yes. Can we vote on it? That was a second, was it? I believe second.
No.
Yeah. Okay. All those in favour?
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Martin, you're out of practice.
Okay, so that covers the human resources point. So we come to a more widespread look at the events, tourism, well, the old events and tourism committee functions, which it has carried out up to now. Do you want to again talk us through?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So I put out the proposal that instead of an events and tourism committee, it's actually events, tourism and improvement steering group, so that we can actually engage with local community groups, organisations, and invite people outside the town council to actually sit on the steering group. And this would be to try and attract more visitors and tourists to the town, actually have a programme calendar of events that can go throughout the year, so that we can actually work collaboratively with the other groups and pool resources, which would mean, you know, when it comes to an event, we won't actually be reliant on all of us being volunteers. There will be other people in the community that want to get involved with us. Ideas as well about, you know, getting the increased tourism and raising the profile of the town. I think that would, you know, there's a lot of expertise in the town that we can tap into. So that's my proposal that I think we should seriously consider this evening. You'll see from here that I've suggested 2, at the most 3 town councillors, because you don't want to appear town council heavy, because it's actually, you know, the idea is this is a steering group for all the organisations to be involved with.
Well, Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, I just wanted to make some comments on the idea. I think something that I found working on Westgate and Bloom, and I'm sure that Councillor Page has found working on Westgate Day, is the amount of local groups that want to get involved and work cross-functionally with the council. So, for instance, the Rotary Club, the Inner Wheel, the WWRA would like to get more involved in initiatives, etc. And as I start having conversations on my projects, I'm finding more and more the URC, the Heritage Club, etc. So I do believe that changing the format of the events to be more of a steering group is that we're bringing this knowledge into one room. People are sharing their interests and their passions. We can put groups together. We can advise on how to get grants, how people can work on various different projects, etc. But I also think it would then allow us to create one mass calendar for the year, so so two groups are not holding an event at the same time. But it also then gives us the basis as a council to then PR and market all the events and all of the things that are going on in the town that the individual groups are doing, so we actually get more involvement across everything. Where we have our own functions such as Pancake Races or Westgate Day, etc., we already then have a working group of a network of groups and voluntary groups that want to get involved. And I think that making sure that it's not top heavy as a official serious council thing, but it's more of a collaborative general meeting where people can come in and give their opinions and viewpoints and say, well, we want to do this, we're not sure how we can do it, or we're doing this, who wants to work with us, etc., is, I think, a fresh approach.
I think it's very important to add, it's also about nurturing positive, good relationships with people in the town. We need to do more of that, so that we're all working collaboratively as a town and not as factions and splintered groups within the town. I know through Westgate Day I've been working very hard myself in that direction, and I think that this particular steering group would cement that, so that we've got something to have a platform on which we can build and move forward.
Just to echo what Councillor Kellett and Councillor Page said, I mean, in that sense, I mean, obviously we do, when it comes to events and tourism, open this up to the public. My question is just on the wording side of things, which is the improvements. Is that strictly down to the events and tourism? Is that improvements to the town as a whole, thinking safety aspects? And
That's what I was proposing, improvements to the town. So it could be anything to do with, the road services. It could be something to do with the speed watch, for instance. We could get input from people.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Sorry, and I think I'm going to preempt what Dr. Scott is going to say, but I think we need a clear definition of what improvement entails, because if we're talking about infrastructure like roads, I personally feel that sits under planning, whereas something like Speedwatch would sit under events and tourism. So I think the word improvements might be the wrong word if we're trying to basically start a new planning group.
If I could just come in, the Coastal Community Team has a specific mandate in relation to working with the private sector to develop the economy of the town. I see, on the one hand, because we've had good participation from the Heritage Centre, schools and so on, I can see the danger that there would be too many meetings going on trying to cover the same subject matter. On the other hand, I think there is a specific role for someone to do some forward thinking in terms of economic development, maybe looking at the bigger picture. As far as the Coastal Community Team is concerned, it needs to continue in some shape or form insofar as it's settled by the Secretary of State, and you can't just sort of having your decision out of it, just disband it. But it is firstly a link particularly to business interests of the private sector in the town, and secondly, as a necessary channel for access to some of the government funding that's available. You have to have a CCT to qualify. So that it would need to be knitted in some way. Now, whether we sort of have that as a subcommittee of the steering group or whatever, I don't frankly have strong views on, but I think its specific role needs to be recognised. Councillor Cornford.
As far as being a fresh start and a fresh look at what was the Events and Tourism Committee,
steering groups can then have working parties.
Yes.
And could the word be events, tourism and development?
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I would prefer
Is that
that.
incorporate CCT then? doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Councillor Scott.
Again, that opens it up for it being quite ambiguous to develop what I can see. I think we're just playing the word in general. It's like, it's just,
Yes.
Yeah, so when I was reading through the terms of reference, I'm still a bit confused as to the aim of the steering group. Because obviously we've got the Westgate in Bloom project, we've got the Westgate Day project, we've got the Pancake Race projects, and I'm just wondering, then the aim of it actually is to bring communities together, kind of, form some kind of forum, so lots of people are involved in lots of different things. I was wondering how then these actual events could then be project managed. But if you're talking about a steering group with then a couple of working parties that go off, and then you've got smaller groups from the working parties, so the Westgate and Bloom working group and the Westgate Day working group, then I can understand how it will work. But having one steering group where all of these things are discussed and you're supposed to be moving forward on projects, that I can't understand how that would actually work. But I can understand how then working groups off of that would work. So that's quite an interesting way of setting that up.
Yes, I mean, as I understand it, the function of the steering group is really there's a forum for the whole town, and also or for the various organisations, but also to ensure that there's good communication between the different events that are being planned. Councillor McCallum.
Just to follow on with that, so I was kind of imagining a scenario similar to the CCT, which I saw with you and Councillor Concord, that meets every 3 months, have a general meeting. So I would kind of see that the steering group would have a quarterly meeting where everyone gets together, but from that you have your individual working parties, so it might be something, just top of my head, it might be the case that the WWRA is running the pancake races. So effectively that quarterly meeting allows them to come back and basically go, right, this is where we're at, we need a little bit of help, we're ready for the next project. But it's also why I see, sorry, Christina, but it also makes sense that then the CCT sits underneath the steering group, because then that is a quarterly meeting as well. But the in-between meetings would be to specifically look at where the working parties are with the projects, where they need help. Is it a case that they need to apply for a grant? Is it that they need a connection with somebody else, etc.? So I'm kind of imagining 4 quarterly meetings and then monthly meetings where you're actually overseeing and looking at what projects are doing. I think that our remit as a council is less to put on events, but it's more to be involved with the events that are going on. So I think that's how I was kind of imagining working. And probably this work doesn't represent that, but that is kind of my vision, as you like.
But with that in mind, I think maybe the wording perhaps needs to be clarified, because I don't understand exactly what you're
So can I propose that I work with Jill and redraft the wording, circulate it to everybody on email, and then maybe do a resolution via email on the steering group?
I particularly have concerns about doing resolutions by emails.
Okay.
Well,
just
I think there are two issues. One will be to be a bit more precise about membership, and the other is to be a bit more precise about objectives. Councillor O'Connor.
Can I just ask, and maybe make a proposal of this? Are we in principle agreed, but it's just the nitty-gritties that we want to actually decide? So we're in principle, this council in principle of having a steering group, but the actual wording and the definitions need to be improved, because that's the way forward if we're agreed with the principle. Then I'd like to propose the principle of this group for it to be further defined in writing.
Can we vote on that?
Yes.
Can we vote on the principle of it? a change.
There you go. So are there any more comments?
I'd like to think, I suppose it's the steering group that definition that I'm concerned about, in that we need to all be steering in the same direction, whether it be people who are councillors or whether it be local residents. And we need to be careful there that, we are in sympathy with all the things that are happening, and that we've all got a personal responsibility to be under some semblance of control by the steering group, rather than being able to do your own thing, which some of us might like. But I think that's what concerns me, is that we need to know that we're going in the right direction. And that's a responsibility for us as councillors as anybody else, really. And I think that's my concern, really, about a steering group. We need to have, surely, some sort of semblance of control. We don't tell people what to do, but I mean, if there's things that we wouldn't be in sympathy with as councillors or as a council generally, then we need to have some opportunity to express those concerns, really. And if we're not having a full council meeting, for however long, then I think that's a concern I've got.
And would we like to come back on that? Oh, sorry. Let's start with Councillor Dr. Scott.
I kind of agree with some of those comments, because on my steering group there's quite a lengthy terms of reference on the neighbourhood plan steering group. So if you have to kind of meet those standards, and that doesn't actually the length of those terms of reference are not mirrored in this steering group. So I think there probably needs to be a lot more terms of reference with regards to how people sit on there. But also I think that we need a very clear list of the events that we are running as a town council, such as the Westgate Day. We know that we are running that. At the moment, we know that we are running the pancake races. And at the moment, we know that we're running Westgate in Blue for a period of time, but with a view to perhaps setting up a committee or something like that in, as a separate committee. That's the view in the future. So I think there needs to be some list of what events exactly we're organising or what projects we're doing. And then anything else that comes up as an idea, perhaps we need to, if we ever take it on as a council project, we need to have that back at the full council meeting. And we need to maybe look at how much time is going to be spent on each thing, and assisting groups in the community as well with each thing. So I think we probably do need more discussions at full council as to different things that are going on in this different group as well.
Thank you. Councillor Connor?
Well, I was assuming that in council's reports on the full committee meeting, that people would be reporting on this, and the steering group would report every month to say what's in it and what's in the steering group, and therefore that would automatically bring it up to discussion if there was a particular event that was being held and we didn't feel it was suitable for Westgate to be involved in, but wouldn't stop the community to running it. So I think that you've got the check of our councillor reports to be brought into our main council.
Okay, Councillor.
Just to say that, as with the neighbourhood plans, the steering group will be overseen, because the neighbourhood plan is a steering group, and any other steering group will be overseen by the council, just by the very nature of its existence.
Okay, yes.
Thank you. I didn't go into a lot of detail. I fully admit on this terms of reference, just purely because I wasn't sure that actually you would like to adopt a steering group. So that's more of this decision this evening, I think, of whether members support a steering group, and then we can actually have those discussions about the formal terms of reference for a steering group, if that's the decision.
Yeah, it's always been my view that the council can't hope to organise everything itself. We don't have the resources. Our function is really to support those in Westgate who are doing a good job in organising various events and carrying out various activities as organisations, and where we feel it's appropriate we can come in and support them. But some people are doing a terrific job, and it's certainly not our function to to try to replace them. Okay, so, okay, Councillor.
Yeah, second Councillor O'Connor's proposal.
Okay, but we accept the principle? Yes?
Yeah.
All those in favour? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Committee and working group appointments. We were invited to,
We covered the...
oh, sorry, Appeals Committee, well, we
discussed that.
Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group. Sorry. You were saying it's very lengthy. Because Scott, do you want to comment at length or?
Nope. Just a few. So I would like the council to consider keeping finance coordinator in. I think that's quite important, whoever that will be. I think chairperson and finance coordinator, and Jill has kindly suggested that she will write the minutes for it, but I don't think she'll be classed as the secretary. You won't be, you're not classed as the secretary on the group, but you're going to be able to sit on the meetings and attend the minutes. So in that first part, at the first meeting, Steve will actually chairperson and the finance coordinator. If the meetings become vacant, the group will elect an alternative. And then under meetings on the next page, it says the chairperson will keep the record of meetings and circulate notes for the steering group. Minutes will be made publicly available. If it's okay, that maybe the chairperson and the clerk will coordinate keeping record of the meetings. Because obviously the minutes are one thing, but I often send out emails as well, and I send out the agenda.
Yeah.
But we can discuss whether that's correct thing to do going forward.
Questions, comments?
Can I ask what number on the agenda we're on?
Oh, sorry, we're still doing.
We missed one.
No, we're still on E.
Review of governance. Review of governance.
Oh, governance arrangement.
I know that the draft says to meet at least once a month. Is that feasible?
Yeah, that's feasible. And then on the finance, if we're going to have a finance coordinator will report back to the steering group and the town council on plan and actual expenditure. Thank you.
Would it be helpful, particularly for the new councillors, to give a quick update on where we are with the I know we approved the current draft at our last meeting.
A lot of the time's been spent with the local plan hearing and the meetings with that. So the next objective is to meet with TDC to get them to sign off an environmental and sustainability side of the member plan, and then we can move forward from that. But they are under a lot of time pressure as well with the local plan hearing. So the next thing would be for me and Jill to book an appointment with them, come and see them, but I know that Jill's under a lot of time pressure as well, so we'll move forward as quickly as we can.
Okay.
Thank you. So, do we need to vote on the proposed changes? To reinstate the finance? Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All those in favour? Did you want to speak, Councillor Scott?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Well, we covered the coastal community team. Oh, the Ordnance Working Group?
I would say the rest of the changes really are very minor. They're only, I've put in chairperson, secretary, and so there isn't really anything else to
Okay, thank you very much for that. So we do pass on that to item 9, committee working group appointments. We were each invited to express an interest in the various committees. Are there any particular questions to raise?
Clearly, we're proposing a new planning committee, so that needs to actually be agreed by members this evening. So you'll see that on this report, you've actually got your expressions of interest actually under each heading of each committee. So there are 6 councillors who have expressed an interest in the Finance and General Purposes Committee, 4 councillors for the Human Resources Committee, 5 councillors for the proposed new planning committee, if that's approved. We've got 4 councillors expressing an interest in the events and tourism, but obviously we can defer that to the next meeting because we need to actually define the steering group. Then the neighbourhood plan steering group, we have 4 councillors expressing an interest, 1 councillor for the coastal community team and 1 councillor for the allotments working group.
Yes, Councillor.
So I forgot about the CCT because I've been on the CCT. So can I get feedback on the CCT, please?
Yes, Councillor Crawford has been a member of the CCT, but primarily as representing the Ursuline College, for which, if I'm correct, she is
Community government, yes. Well, it was it. What am I?
so we should vote on planning. Yes.
Sorry, can I just clarify? Are we adding Councillor Crawford to the coastal community team? No?
Well,
Do you need me?
well, no, we need some. I mean, it'd be good to have someone from the
Yes,
college.
yes.
Because I kind of feel that meeting is very hit and miss who turns up, and I think it's important that there's a consistency. So if you have the time, I think it's important that the
I mean, we had a couple of
consistency.
very good, sorry, I'm interrupting you, we had a couple of very good initial meetings. And then there was a trouble with the funding, wasn't there? It all went a bit, became a bit desiccated.
Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor O'Connor?
I'm making an assumption, obviously we're not doing the events and tourism improvements, but although I haven't got my name forward on the steering group, obviously when we do working groups, other councillors can still go on to those working groups if they express an interest in that particular area. That's just what I want to clarify.
Yes. We need to vote on planning.
So if you can vote on that.
So the proposal is to have a planning committee which would have 5 councillors, up to 5 councillors, which could look at planning applications and more general issues related to planning. Any comments on that? Anyone propose?
Yeah, I agree, send to the town council and incorporate the planning.
Second by Councillor Page. All those in favour? Great, thank you very much. Well, shall we vote on each councillor for each committee? Can
Do it on the if you want
I was
to.
going to say, can we do it on the block?
Take out.
Unless anyone has any strong objections, you've seen the list of which councillor wishes to serve on which committee. You'll see that. just distributed recently. Yes, Councillor.
There was just one point. The neighbourhood plan steering group is quite a formal group. We're nearly done. We're nearly at the end of our actions. And so I was just wondering whether there's any point in, I know, I appreciate Councillor William putting his name down, but I do wonder whether there's any actions actually that he'll be able to undertake, seeing as we're quite at the end of our actions for the town council. So it was just whether he really wanted to sit on there and if
Fine by me either way.
I think that sort of because the group's quite formal, and we're following on, then I don't think there's any necessary to have a full council on this steering group. But I appreciate you putting your own board.
Thank you. So with that amendment, can we vote en bloc for members of the committees? But not
this.
No, not the events
Yes.
steering group, whatever it is to be called. We'll postpone the discussion on that until we've had a revised draft terms of reference. Yes.
Sorry, I haven't seen one copy of it. We haven't seen one copy of the list of elections. Sorry,
As well as asking you if everyone seen it, because I know it came out. I'll probably do it. Do you want a couple of minutes to look at that? So we're voting on everything about the events steering group. But it should reflect not just the bids that you've made. Yes, Councillor Scott.
I'll propose that we vote.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favour? Are you okay with that? So if you haven't seen it, I don't want you, but it simply reflects the wishes that people sent to the clerk, so we're not excluding anybody from anything as well by now. Thank you. Financial budget report.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
It was just a suggestion, Chairman, whether the report from the warden could come forward, because we're taking quite a long time to get to the end. And I just wondered whether the community warden wanted to give a report further up the agenda or at the end.
That's the PCSO.
Oh, so is not having it? Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't want to sit here and do it. So, yeah, we'll track that one.
The community warden wasn't able to come. Apologies, yeah. So she has sent a report which the clerk will read, but I'm glad that PCSO is there because sometimes there are specific issues that come from the warden's report. I know they work very closely together. Okay, so who wants to speak to this clerk or Councillor?
The finance report. I'm very, very pleased to announce that the reconciliation and obviously the manual system and the computerised system have actually balanced, and this report's reflected. So you'll see the numbers as they 1, 2 and 3, and basically it shows you that the old report and the numbers behind each page of what reflects of the new reports and how they're going to look. So obviously from here you've got the bank and cash reconciliations, and it shows you that the new report shows it in separate accounts, but it's the same information, but it's just changed. So that's the reports you're going to get on the bank reconciliation. Okay. You've got an income and expenditure report, Obviously, there's no forecast report on this because we're at the end of the year for this one. There's nothing. And it will show you that the forecast report, which is just a list of expense codes, and that just shows you on the trial balance that we now get off of the new report, so the trial balance comes through. But what we do have on the trial balance, off of the trial balance, is what everybody's looking forward to and will be looking through for next year, which will be the breakdown by their kind of cost centre stroke department. So we should be quite good here. So obviously, the first part of it is just to do with the income and operational costs. We've broken down to how the budget was set. But obviously, if you start looking through, you see the allotments group, so you can see things like the allotments, so you can see the rental income that we get and the water income against the expenditure of that. And the same applies to each one of these, so you've got the same as events and tourism, so as that progresses, you'll be able to see that this is where you can keep an idea of the costs and how much is we're getting in for grants that might come in from our income, to how much it's costing us to put this event on. So each one of these will go forward to each of their committees. So each month they can have a look at it, see how they're going, see why they're under or over. And obviously this is why finance doesn't have to report, because they've got their own budgets, they can see their budgets, see what's being spent within that. They're still obviously going through normal standard procedures, standard orders procedures, that doesn't take anything, but it just means that everybody is a little bit more responsible for seeing what income they're generating to what expenditure is generating. Obviously we've got a couple of areas such as salaries and office running costs that don't generate income because they're expenditure. But that's, as we go forward, you'll be able to get more and more used to it, and particularly if you're on those committees, you'll get used to seeing that and seeing that come. This can be, new cost centres or budget lines can be set up differently, so we have something that is being set up, like a regular thing for events and tourism, we can actually take that down further on the system, so that can actually be done.
Sorry, can I just ask probably a question? So that means that Westgate and Bloomer, for example, where we get lottery money, but we proportion some events and tourism money, we can still separate them and break them down as two separate. That's amazing.
Yeah, so we just, it's as good as the information you get. So you need to tell us, Jill can set up the new codes now in the right departments, and we can type in.
This is now my favourite report out of all of the reports.
So that will be that one. And then obviously we've still got the reserve one, so on the front you was how we did it, and on the back it just tells you what's in reserve. So all the reports are there exactly the same, which means it's great now because it's all very much computerised. Jill and her team can put them onto the computer. In my capacity as auditor from last year, where we were working together to try and get the system up and reconcile the system, I can step back beautifully now and just literally go in and do bank reconciliations. So Jill is not doing both sides of the job, so I should be just auditing on that purpose.
Good.
So I hope everybody's happy with it.
Great. Amazing.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add as well that actually we've obviously it's proposed for later on in the agenda for Councillor College being Councillor Auditor, because that actually covers as well the petty cash and the allotments money that are held in the office. Then that's the role that the auditor can come in once a month and reconcile that I'm on track with my payments in my teams as well. Thank you.
Yeah. I just one comment, when you crossing from one year, budget year to another sometimes, I think it's fairly clear which year it refers to, it's not always explicit.
Yes, I think it's us getting used to reading the reports, and obviously every month it comes out you get more than used to it. So, but obviously what we've got, we will have now last year and current year. As you can see, this year we've already got the budget set inside for current year coming forward. So you'll start to see that reconciling what we spent last year against those funds that we've done this year. So it's a good indication. And that obviously will help set the budgets for next year because you'll see where we're spending it really well.
Okay, I think we've been through them all. Are there any questions? Can someone propose that we adopt them or receive them? Thank you, Councillor Page. Second, everyone in favour? Great, thank you. So we're on now to the annual review. You should have received an inventory list. We also have the confirmation of insurance cover, annual subscriptions to things like Calvin and so on, which we actually discussed last time, and then just a list of direct debits and stuff. Is there any comments on these reports? They're really just factual reports for information, there's not much in them to, yeah, Councillor Yeah, thank you. Second by Councillor Nightingale, in favour? Thank you very much. Now, it's my great pleasure to move to point 12, which is the general properties.
Thank you,
Will
Chairman.
explain why it's my great pleasure.
Thank you, thank you.
We now have fully qualified.
Thank you, yes. Yes, so I'm pleased to confirm that I know we announced at the town meeting, I have now my silver qualification and we have elected councillors, so that means we are now in a position where we can adopt the general power of competence for our next term. And this was created in the Local Tourism Act 2011. So I did you all a report, an introduction. I just thought it was quite useful with the information as well. So the decision is the council is invited to resolve to declare its eligibility to adopt the general power of competence in that all 10 town councillors have been elected at the last election or in subsequent by-elections, and the town clerk holds a certificate in local council administration, including section 7 of the general power of competence, and adopt the general power of competence with effect from this evening.
So, anyone like to propose it? 10 hands shot up, that's great. I saw Councillor Nicola from Councillor Page. All those in favour? Yes? Wonderful, thank you very much. Congratulations again. Public participation, is anyone indicated? So, reports from councillors. Anybody would like to make a report, Councillor?
I'll keep mine very, very brief. Since the last update on South Eastern, works are still progressing. They're actually adding things from phase 3 into phase 1 as they can do them. So we have new display screens that have gone up, and they've started to replace the CCTV. And the waiting room is almost finished, and it looks amazing because they've actually done wooden frame windows, which were what was there originally, and then given them protection over the top as well. So they're adding where they can. We're now at the stage of getting ready for planting and Bumblebee Trust. We're just waiting for dates from us. A quick word of Westgate and Bloom, so we couldn't announce this due to Purda, and this will be officially released into the public domain on the 4th of June, but we have been given a National Lottery grant for Westgate and Bloom of £10,000, which is £5,000 for plants, £1,250 for works, and the remaining money towards benches. And then finally, This information is already out in the public domain, so I thought I would just address it. We are in the process of negotiating a new lease on a new council property. For the sake of the new councillors and the members of the public here, the property that we're looking at will be a council office and community hub. So the idea is that we will be able to provide more services to the community as well as be a council office. So the idea is that Councillor Page will run a food bank from the actual council offices. We'll have a tourist information centre within there as well. We'll be able to revenue generate from those offices, which should make us self-funding against the rent. We'll be able to move our meeting from this venue to the new offices, plus future meetings like surgeries, etc. will take place within the office. So we are negotiating a lease, and in full transparency that is where we're at. We will probably have a lease ready for signing at the beginning of next month. And that is me.
Thank you very much. That's really good news, particularly about the funding for Westgate and Bloom. That's good. And if you haven't already poked your head around the station, it's well worth it. It's amazing the transformation when I think what the station looked like not so long ago, about a year ago. It's really coming on. Any other particular comments? Report back. Okay, yeah, Councillor Crawford.
Just a couple of small things. The Westgate Collaborative, which is about social prescribing, is gradually getting on its feet and will be engaging with groups in Westgate. And stunningly, I'm on the committee of Westbrook Residents Association. They had their AGM the other night, and that went really well. And they were asking for members to take on roles. And there was a role for the Sunshine, is it Sunshine Person? Sunshine Person. Yes. Who sends cards to residents who are members and unwell. So if anybody here knows of anybody who's unwell or not having the best of times, let me know. And Hayley, who used to, I'm sorry, I don't know her surname because it only just happened today. She was cleaning at the Bacon Ale House, but she hurt her shoulder. And she agreed today to give me a hand with sending out cards and visiting people who are unwell. So that's very nice. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks. We move, if there are no other reports from councillors, we move to reports from district councillors. So I don't know if anyone wants to speak with both hats on.
Okay, yeah, many thanks for this. First of all, I just want to extend many thanks to the Residents Association for congratulating all the councillors here. So that's a warm welcome for everyone.
Residents Association.
So basically, a few reports really. So having been at the Residents Association for Westgate and Westbrook, one thing I did take off from that is there has been some desires from some of the businesses within that about some potential discussions with CCTV. I mean, going forward, it's been taken on board. I've had conversations with our KCC councillors, along with our town councillor, Town Clerk Jill, and obviously myself as a district, and one of the other district councillors, Ashby. So going forward, we just discuss it. There's not much happening as of yet. We are just going to be looking to conduct a meeting, but obviously just want to keep people up to date and just know that those concerns have been acknowledged. The only other thing to report was sort of collaborative between the district and well, maybe even town, as well as KCC, which was it was brought to my attention that the Minster Road speed sign, which is the vehicle activated sign, was temperamental in the sense that the electricity or the electrical supply wasn't working, therefore it wasn't registering any vehicles. So that has now been fixed and repaired, and that was thanks to Councillor Hurst who got that reported. I'd like to have thought it might just be down to the fact that everyone was actually available the speed limits, but I've seen it flash, so not through me. But yeah, so those are the reports, and many thanks for Westgate support going forwards, and I hope to continue doing Westgate Road.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We have a report from the committee ward.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, so Laura sent the report through for me to share with you this evening. She said, "Good evening everyone, hope you're well. For some of you this will be the only information that you receive from the community warden about what is going on and is dealt with by me for the month. For many of you, I see and speak to you daily, weekly, whilst walking my beat. If anyone has any issues they would like to contact me about, please leave your details at the Town Council office or a note can be left at the library, or you can contact me by email or my phone number which are on the Town Council website. I do my best to help and inform you, or give you details of a department or other agency that can help you. Sometimes there is nothing that can be done to resolve an issue, not through lack of trying, and I would just ask you to respect that fact at all times. This month has been very busy as usual with vulnerable visits, referrals, the dreaded drains, potholes, neighbour disputes, youth pot smoking, to name a few. One issue that's particularly interesting at the moment is Linksfield Road Park. If anyone should see pot smoking or youths on mopeds or petrol scooters actually in park bullying other young park users or youths gathering and making a nuisance of themselves, may I please implore you to report this to the police on 101. Would also like to find out where 2 moped rider and petrol scooter drivers live. So can door knock and educate regarding use of their vehicles. Oh, I see, so she wants to go and door knock and educate use of their vehicles. For some people in the surrounding area, this park has become a problem. So please, please report everything you can to 101. And I would just like to add as well that there is the CSU email as well. That's actually a good place to report. And then she just says, a strange one as well, if anyone has any knowledge of who is throwing used dog poo bags behind the 2 metal boxes, I think they're the Virgin, on Rowena Road by Palm Court. And another far worse one is opposite Palm Court. Please, please report this to Thanet District Council if you see the culprits. Laura has reported this and requested a deep clean of the 2 areas. This will only be any good until someone yet again throws... So yeah, she said this will only be as good as until somebody actually continues to do. So we must find out who this is in order to tackle this disgraceful behaviour. Okay, thank you.
Do you mean the part at Livingston Road?
Yes.
It's saying Livingston or Linksfield, because I think you said Linksfield.
She said Linksfield Road Park.
No, it's Livingston Road. It's Livingston Road Park.
She's got Linksfield Road Park.
Yeah.
I must say, I wondered, I assumed it was just the grassy area on this field.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good. Thanks for that. So we move on to the addendum to the agenda. Appointment of chaplain to town council. We have 2 churches in Westgate. We need a chaplain for various purposes. The chaplain works with us in relation to Remembrance Sunday and various other events. I know that George Curry was always indicated his eagerness to be involved in community initiatives, and he presented very well, I understand. I also spoke with Karen Gooding, who is the, what's her official title? Priest in charge at St Saviour's, who was happy for George to continue. I don't know if anyone has any particular comments to make, otherwise we invite George Callum, the Reverend Dr. George Callum, to continue. Doctor. Any comments? Anyone propose?
I'd like to propose.
Second.
Thank you very much. All those in favour? Thank you.
Abstain.
Thank you. Appointment of Councillor Internal Auditor, CIA, for the Town Council. Councillor O'Connor has served as Councillor Auditor, and I think it's a very important and necessary function. I know she's worked hard at it, and I am personally very grateful for all the hard work in that area, and I hope someone can propose that she be reappointed. Councillor Nightingale, I think.
Thank you.
All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. Again, Council for PR Marketing Sponsorship. We have Councillor Nicola, we discussed this on the previous occasion.
Can I just ask a question with regards to this?
Sorry?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
With regards to PR marketing and sponsorship, is it the sponsorship for things that we've decided to do? How does that go ahead? How does that sort of...
So I actually wanted to change the word. So I wanted to change it to PR marketing and I lost the words now. Revenue generation. Because sponsorship was too tight to, it would almost be like that Helen would be coming to me and saying, well, we're doing Westgate Day, so can you get the event sponsored? Whereas I think that income generation is what we're about as a council going forward. And so I think that's the right phraseology rather than sponsorship. So the income generation might be as simple as when we run the asset transfer at the football grounds, selling the advertising boards, but it might be raising income through the new council community office, etc. So I think income generation makes more sense than sponsorship.
And it's in the terms of reference for this role that it's income generation for projects that have been decided by the council. So it's kind of, we ask you to do that.
Yeah.
It's not kind of, you're not going off and doing projects and getting money for it and then kind of coming back to the council saying,
No.
well, I've done all this. Okay.
I'd like to have the time to do that, but no, this is more for things that we've agreed. So for example, when we set up the new office, we've agreed that we need to income generate within that office. So effectively, I would hope that we would agree at full council that actually I take charge of setting up the template on how we generate income from that office space. So it's all stuff that's come through full council.
Very cool. Thank you.
Good. Did you have a question?
No, I was going to propose.
Okay.
I think he's got the skills. I certainly haven't.
Thanks, Barry. Second by Councillor Scott.
Councillor, thank you.
All those in favour? Thank you. Meeting dates for the forthcoming year. You know the usual form that I'm sure you all have attached to your fridge or bedroom wall or wherever you keep it with the meeting dates on. I don't know, okay, I just won't go there. This is based on Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesdays, yes, all Tuesdays.
Okay, so we are sticking to a general meeting on a Tuesday. The reason we're holding this meeting tonight was simply that the room wasn't free last night, so we had to go for the Wednesday in order to stay, I assume, stay within the regulatory timescale for holding the first meeting. Yeah. But otherwise we continue to meet on Tuesdays. I hope that's fine for...
Can I just make a comment? And the Events Tourism Committee, we've not met monthly before, have we? It's usually a bit longer than that.
It used to be bi-monthly,
Yeah.
but if it's a steering group, I was proposing it's monthly. That's why I put those dates in there. But obviously, you need to disregard that for this evening's proceedings because we haven't agreed that it's going to be the terms of reference and everything yet. So I think for this evening, I think we can agree that at the next meeting.
Well, I don't think at the moment we can do any other than take note of the dates proposed. It will be up to each committee, obviously, if circumstances change to to decide its date, but that's indicative. Councillor McAuliffe.
I would like to propose that we add a column and put in dates for the year for the CCT, because it's something that tends to get forgotten about, and I think we need to have a set regular schedule in advance that we stick to. So I would like to have a column for that.
Good. Yes, Councillor Scott.
Yeah, just to make everyone aware, Joe and I have had a discussion regarding the planning committee and neighbourhood plan steering group, and suggested that if it could be on the same evening to save time, and perhaps the planning committee could perhaps start at 6:30 to 7:30, and then the neighbourhood planning steering group could be sort of 7:30 to 8:30, something like that. If we could try and squeeze that in, so I'd come back earlier from work to get it into one evening. So that's what we're thinking at the moment. And I need to put out an email to make sure that that's all okay with the neighbourhood plan steering group members. If that's okay with everybody here.
Makes complete sense.
Yes, Councillor.
Sorry, I thought when we were discussing, I put forward that maybe the finance and general purpose and the human resources were on the same night. As I know some of them are, but some of them are not. Is there any particular reason?
It was purely because it was time I was thinking of, because the finance and general purposes I was trying to squeeze in with, because if I was proposing the finance and general purposes were quarterly and the human resources is bi-monthly.
Okay.
So that's why it doesn't quite meet every, but the dates that it does, the months that it does meet, I've made sure it's on the same evening.
Okay. Lovely. Thank you.
Okay. Well, it's just to take note, I think, isn't it? Or do we need to vote?
I think, please, and then I can
Just later on, right. Did we have a proposal? Thank you.
No, second.
Second, thank you.
All those in favour?
Thank you.
And last but not least, proposed town magazine newsletter.
Okay, I'm going to try and keep this brief within a 5-minute window. So basically, hand that down this side, hand that down that side. So this is our current newsletter, which we produce in-house. We've also got a copy of what Birchington has produced. We spend approximately quarterly, we produce this newsletter, so we spend about £1,600 a year just on producing the newsletter. Then the newsletter is delivered across Westgate and seen by whoever Jill and Jasmine can find available. So whether it's councillors, whether it's town members, whether it's residents, and in some cases paying overtime to Neil to basically go around and deliver. So the considerations I wanted to put into the fact of how long this actually takes to produce. Jasmine works on the equivalent of 2.5 weeks every quarter using all of her part-time hours to put this together. So it's quite a lot of her personal time to do this. We struggle to get the volunteers to distribute the newsletter as it is, and we're paying overtime to people to actually go out and deliver. We still then, as the best one in the world, only manage to do a percentage of properties in Westgate. So Jasmine gets quite a lot of complaints and a lot of people getting in touch saying, I never got the newsletter. So either somebody makes a special journey or they come and collect it from the office. So for me, it doesn't make the most efficient use of time of our resources for Jasmine, Neil, or the people refusing volunteering the time to deliver. So when we were looking last year at cost savings, this is where the newsletter came into the picture. And so I was having conversations with various different companies. The Birchington Parish one is done by Community Ad, and as they have a long-standing contract with Birchington and Community Ad, they will not produce a Westgate version because there's no additional ad revenue for them to be gained when they're already getting it for Birchington. So I looked at other opportunities. So the opportunity came across with News and Directory, which there is some history on how it was set up, etc. But the proposal with the news directory is that every week Jasmine would send the normal newsletter stories to the news and directory. I would basically send all of our press releases, which they would then select from to feature within the magazine as well. They would then take the ownership of delivering the newsletter to 8,000 homes, covering Westgate, Westbrook and Garland. So we would then be going out to the neighbours that we have and basically trying to encourage them to come and spend time in Westgate. Everything is fully tracked. On top of this, there's 2,000 issues that are placed within local businesses, and within the new council office, they'll also put a drop bin in there to be collected from as well. To cut a long story short, the printer that we currently have, we're exiting that contract because the printer doesn't work for purpose. So the printer compensation comes out of it because that was originally the idea that we would print ourselves. So by doing all of this, having them delivering for us, delivering to 10,000 houses and moving into other areas, we can actually reduce our cost from £1,600 to £1,300 a year in two payable amounts of £650 per half year. That's without taking into consideration the financial cost of Jasmine's time, the financial cost of paying the overtime, etc., and the amount of time that the councillors and the residents have to put into delivering locally. So the idea is that we would rebrand this publication as being the News and Directory Westgate-on-Sea, incorporating the Westgate-on-Sea Town Council newsletter. So we would retain the same amount of space as our current newsletter, but in addition to that, they would also publish selected press releases. And the reason that I've had to bring it to today's meeting for a decision is that they're currently working on the July issue that would be distributed on the 1st of July, which is then key for us promoting Westgate.
Yes, okay.
Just a question of layout, really. Would we have a particular section within this, or would it be spread over certain pages?
So
How would that work?
we have the option. So we have the option of either having almost like a pull-out section in the middle, or making it more like the Birchington magazine, where it's more newsworthy all the way through, and then we're mixing our press release stories with our newsletter stories and any other general news that's been fed to them by local groups, etc. So it really is down to us. I favour the more general read magazine, because then the advertisers that they rely on the revenue to pay for the shortfall in producing this that we're not paying are more likely to be seen.
Councillor Martin,
I think it's a good idea. The only thing I'm a bit concerned about is how the people in Westbrook are going to respond to getting Westgate-on-Sea, seeing as we've had problems in the past with having projects which go over the border.
They already received this.
What, with Westgate-on-Sea?
Yeah, it already goes to Westbrook and Garland, so that's why they were able to say that it would be 8,000.
No, what I mean is, if it's got it's going to have Westbrook on the front as well.
No. So basically, this Westgate-on-Sea News and Directory magazine is currently, as is, delivered to Westbrook and Garland as well as Westgate-on-Sea, and that's seen as the catchment area for one area.
I've never had it in my life, I live in Westgate. Mind you, I've never had any previous newsletters.
Councillor Matthew Scott.
Yeah, it's just a few questions. So like I said, I did declare an interest in this at the beginning of the meeting, so do try and hold no sort of bias. So full disclosure, I did work for one of the publications which was responsible for the Birchington-on-Sea Council magazine. So I mean, my sort of questions were, having just looked through the Westgate-on-Sea magazine itself, I don't know if anyone else shares the same sort of feelings, it is very editorial. I think there's only literally one page that's relevant to Westgate specifically, which is the Lake House, and then some general sort of events which are covering across the ballot, and everything else is stuff that you would essentially pull from online. Now, that's purely not like I say, it's not a biased thing. I think what should just definitely be taken and fed back is based on the magazine that I did work on and their council publications, is they put a lot of the council information right at the beginning, those being a word from the chair, a word from town clerk and vice, anything that may be relevant and very pertinent to the areas at the time, so anything planning. They would normally try and get those within the first 10 pages, with the right-hand page always left for significant advertisers. So basically, they always consider the first 10 pages to be prime spots for advertisers with full-page ads. So do expect, obviously, the right-hand side to be taken with ads. Then they fall into a general sort of magazine, which will then move on to events, general content, things that are happening by. I still do share purely on what we do know in the past with boundaries, sort of crossovers. If we're going to have like an emblem or it's saying it's incorporated West Bermondsey Town Council, that might ruffle up Garlinge in one way or another. And I suppose, lastly has the company itself taken on to the fact that while that magazine is now around about 30 pages, for the editorial direction that they wish to go for, that will significantly impact the printing costs with the Bermondsey magazine itself being 50 pages plus. The only other thing is, I think I've already had my, full disclosure, we did have a discussion briefly about the past about this, and basically, my thing was always about the distribution. Having been an ex-employee now, I will speak frank that it's not like the I won't say the names, but the particular magazines themselves didn't hit all the areas. It's almost impossible to do so. I think we've all done our own flyer distributions or helped one another, and we know how hard it is to get to flats and whatnot. So we can't do full coverage, and you always treat it to a little crevice somewhere where there's more houses. But that is the big issue for me. It's just the distributions have always been, and again, it's from an advertising and also a magazine thing. They always do overflate their numbers. So I'm just very concerned that I'll be interested to see the GPS tracking, but to better put my points is for it to be very editorial led, with the pages being at the front, the fact they've taken on board the costs, which I think you remember these answers for, to the larger mag, the point that Councillor Nightingale has made in relation to any sort of boundary crossovers and distributions.
So to answer some of those, Jill and I had a meeting with Adam from NND. We saw the tracking app in action. He was able to show where it was delivered. We actually tracked right down to my house, when it was delivered, what time it was delivered, etc. And I was actually there when it came through the door, so I knew that what he was saying was actually true. The reason that this idea appeals to them is obviously the lack of content, and they didn't realise that the person that's been putting everything together hasn't been using the press releases that have been sent to them. So the idea for them is that this publication will become more editorial. It will increase by initially 10 to 12 pages and then build up as they build up the advertising revenue. So it will be very focused on what we are feeding them. So pretty much Adam has said to us that anything that Jasmine sent across is a definite. All of our press releases that we're sending out on a regular basis should be featured because they're not getting that news as it is. The reason that they want to do this and do it so cheaply for us is for the obvious reason. It gives them a new marketplace. It then allows them to go and basically look for new business. The reason that I looked at this format rather than basically trying to take our newsletter and do ad sales for this, and that's where I'd like your opinion, because obviously talking to press on a regular basis that I do, ad sales are obviously the big topic, and getting ad sales and getting repeat ad sales and generating ad sales is a lot of work and a lot of time, and I know that you've got the knowledge in this, so can you
Yeah.
clarify?
Through the chair, do you mind me coming back on this? Right, so, yeah, I mean, I think while the very nature of the magazine that we put together does strike a chord with the residents, I mean, we've always invited residents on the back to offer sort of opinions and that. I've not myself known if any of those opinions actually come forward, but I do feel that it's going to be a weight off, and we do actually have the creative control in relation to being able to put the editorial stuff aside. I mean, with relation to advertising sales, it is a very hard market to get repeats in, especially with a magazine and Westgate itself. The market is fully saturated. That's why I suppose I do support the fact that we have approached a competitor to the other publications, because they, in the past, have never found viable to target Westgate specifically. So Competitor Magazine can still go out and get the advertising and obviously fund its own costs. For us as a town council, the fact of the matter is we would need someone pretty much full-time, and even then we'd have to first of all focus specifically with Westgate businesses first, which would obviously demand a very exclusive rate, and we could then be sort of bend to the So I think going down the third party route means that we will now have we will not have any payment system with the advertisers, and I think that will be made clear as it is within the Birchton Parish Council publication that the thoughts and expressions from the advertisers do not represent us as a town council.
Yep.
So yes, it's
Conscious that our time is running.
Yeah.
I must say, I regard the newsletter as our sort of flagship external communications tool, and I have had so many positive comments about it that I want to think carefully before we change the format. Know more about the various costs of editorial work versus or separate from distribution. But it's this kind of loss of editorial control that I think is a problem for some of us.
Yeah. Before
Yes.
I just slip off, if we're unsure, can we try it for a period of time?
Yeah, so what we agreed, myself and Joe agreed at the meeting that we had with Adam, is that we would agree to pay a 2-issue upfront, so £650 upfront to produce 2 quarterly issues. The reason for that is that it's going to take time to get the format completely right. So we need to produce one and then basically learn from that and then alter for the second. If we're still not happy, then we're not tied into anything. It's not like we're tying ourselves into a long-term contract. So unlike Burchington, who have a rolling contract with Community Ad, this will have a bit more flexibility.
Councillor Moore.
I was just going to say it's not written in stone, is it? So we can, if it does work, it's flexible, and it does sound very workable. And some of us are far too familiar with the letterboxes in Westgate.
Yes, scuff hands.
Yes.
Dog bites.
I mean, with that sort of just going to say it again with my sort of experience on this, whereas in the past we have allowed, well, we made sort of Jill have to work overtime to delay the publication. With these magazines, the editorial will be sort of on very quickly with the deadline, so
Right.
we have to be very...
Papers to be handed in.
So just responding to that, Jasmine is fully prepared and being able to pull together the information to send to the guys. Obviously, I had a conversation with her before I had a conversation with Joe, because obviously this has always fallen under Jasmine to pull together. So she's fully prepared, and I've said that for the first issue I'll support her in pulling together as much news stories, etc., to hit their deadline. After that deadline is hit, then we're in a case of just basically, as the news stories are coming in, they're just being fed straight back out. So it will fall into a rhythm. But the first issue will be the challenge.
Well, how do you feel about two issue trial?
I believe, like, unless Hannah has a question that may change,
I haven't made a point about it yet. My concern is the advertising in it, that we lose control of the advertising. And also, you know, we are still going to put a lot of work in to get the editorial pieces in there in the first place. But it's fact that we lose control over how it looks, and also the fact that it's going to be delivered in Westbrook and Garlic, we could have complaints. But, you know, you can't figure this out until you suck it and see. So unless we saw what they might be able to produce, then we don't really know. I mean, could we have a proof before it's sent out?
We're on such a tight deadline that literally they're on June's deadline to basically get to print for July 1st.
So we've got another full council meeting to approve it before it gets sent out?
No, because they go to print on the 1st of June to basically then distribute it on the 1st of July. So we wouldn't have the opportunity to, and that's why it would be very much that we would need to do a trial issue and then feedback what we're not happy with and then correct for the follow-up issue.
So, excuse me, just got to get the train.
Well,
I mean, I'll just put some quick comments through, which is, the fact is, some quick fire questions. First of all, do we have enough content to even establish this magazine?
Because we've been sitting on so much stuff that we couldn't release because of Purda. And obviously there's a lot on Westgate that we can now talk about. And so there's a lot we can talk about with lots of the different projects, etc. Plus the community groups will all be able to feed into this as well. So there's enough content for us to get an issue together.
And just a few others, I mean, just a quick comment about the advertisers, even the Birchton Parish Council, they always relinquish their rights to the parish and the advertisers, other than if they have their own communities, which the magazine itself did take on. I'm very aware that Pauline does want to vote this, I'm doing very quickly. I mean, I do propose the magazine to go forward with 2 issues. There was one other thing I did want to say, which was basically completely out of my head now. So I mean,
don't we vote on it again after 2 issues? And that's 2 quarters, is it?
Yes. So there'll be the July issue and then it'll be October, so it'll be our Christmas issue.
I think that's a good suggestion to review it. Yeah, give it a try because it's got obvious benefits.
That's it. Just, I mean, the end of the matter is a lot of the content we put together then does go over to fill the offices. So maybe we should just see how Jill and Jasmine feel about this. The answer's probably already made, and this is something that has office and town hall.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it has benefits for our time being spent. So I think, personally, I would support if it was a trial for 2 months, if everybody agrees, obviously.
I mean, Jill and Jasmine spent hours folding.
yeah. No, I mean, for me, we can't go on like we have been doing. It's been very sort of improvised and inefficient. Secondly, I'm a bit worried about losing editorial control. I think people will feel they're not receiving communication from us anymore because 9 times out of 10 it's a sort of cover that will come and do. Thirdly, I feel okay about doing it as a trial and see how it goes, but I do think there are maybe other ways to explore where we maintain our distinctiveness in terms of communication, but we do cut our costs and we do make sure that it gets distributed everywhere in Westgate. But that's my own feeling. Yeah.
Just really quickly, could we have the Westgate, the Town Council logo?
Yeah, so this will literally become news and directory incorporating Westgate and Seatown Council with our logo on the front. And we'll also have input on covers, etc. So I'm suggesting that the Westgate, Celebrate Westgate Day poster becomes the cover for the first issue, etc.
Okay, good.
Well, do you want to vote?
Yes.
I propose that we give it a try.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Gordford. Well,
By proxy.
So is that, sorry, was that everybody?
Yes.
Thank you.
Two issues.
Sorry, Councillor Dawson.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
is that everything? Sorry, what was that about?
What Ian was voting for it as well.
Okay, so you both of them.
Yeah, bye.
So is that another all in favour then? Including Gordon Whiting?
Oh,
No, he hasn't
Oh,
worked on it.
that would have been a full house. Didn't you just make it sit there 5 more minutes?
So, thank you very much. We finished not at 4:45, but at 5:02.
Thank you.